there was no better name for this podcast than Safe House, which is kind of serendipitously went perfectly with what we were trying to say.
Purim.
Close though.
And then at the end, this woman comes up to me and she introduces herself, asked me for my name, and she said, "Are you okay? You just look a little sad right now." And I said, "Yeah, fine, just I'm a little tired." And she said, "Okay, well, I'm happy you're here." And I was like,
The safe house.
That's what did it right there.
That's awesome.
And then I took communion off a ping pong table.
There's no coincidences in God, and everything happens purposefully. And even when it's meant to harm you,
I think October or November.
Funny you don't know the exact date for that. I'm kidding. Alrighty, guys, welcome back to the Safe House Podcast. Today, I am going to be joining you. My name is Nick. I am Dylan's younger brother. Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about our different point of views. They are religious, obviously. This is the Safe House Podcast. I am not. So today, we're going to be going into the different perspectives and point of views throughout our lives and the things that we've learned. Anyway, please enjoy. Okay, so yeah, Nick, 22. I work in ABA, which for pretty much everyone who doesn't know, because it's kind of a niche thing, right? I work with people that are on the spectrum, autism spectrum. It's the correct terminology now. Is you just say they're on the spectrum.
What does ABA stand for?
Applied behavioral analysis. So basically, understanding the behaviors and applying all these different methods to shape them into different behaviors or to shape them into better behaviors. We work in, educational, behavioral, developmental, all kinds of different stuff. Basically, we're just helping them become the best version of themselves that they can be. That's the end goal, right?
And what is kind of the ways you do that?
So everything we do is very highly individualized to the individual, right? Everyone learns different, and in this case, that's so much more true. Like, sometimes there's one thing that we're working on, and I will try 1,000 different solutions. That may be a little hyperbole, right? But that's one of the things I do really like about it is I get to be super creative. I'm a problem solver. That's what I like doing. And so I get to try a bunch of different ways to try and solve this, to help them reach this goal, right? I have to find a way that they will understand. Because a lot of the people I work with, they'll be nonverbal. They may not understand what I'm saying at all. They don't have what we call receptive language. So like if I say, can you sit down? They don't know what I said, right? They don't have that understanding yet. So it's definitely a very interesting field, and I get to be very creative, and it's very rewarding when you see progress. Like just yesterday, I was working with one of my clients and working on a pretty simple goal. There's a 2-piece puzzle, and they have to put it together. That's the goal. And when we originally started working on the goal, they would just try and slide the pieces together. And you can't get a puzzle piece together like that. So I would set it on top, and they just had to push it down. That's all they had to do to be considered passing, right? They just have to put a little weight on it so the pieces snap together. And then we start working on, I will hold their hand and we'll pick up the piece together, put it together. And now, yesterday, probably been working on this goal for a month and a half, and they're finally able to put to put the puzzle together. And even though that's in the grand scheme of things, that's such a little thing, but it's progress. Yeah. And everything in this field, it tends to take a while. So even the small victories are really exciting, because at the end of the day, it's hey, what we're doing is working, right? He's gotten a little better at using motor skills, which is moving your hands and all this. It's a bit more fine motor, it takes a little more precision to slide the pieces into the right spot, to actually put it together and all that. So yeah, it can be a very fulfilling experience, because it's I was a part of that growth.
Well, I think, what is you talk about people having variations or just degrees of it. What is the degree of okay, you're actually autistic? Yeah, everybody's gonna have yeah, what's the threshold for like, okay, you're actually autistic or you actually have ADHD or ADD?
See, that's a little
Or
tough.
do we know? Like, does anyone know?
I would not consider myself an expert, right? So I wouldn't say, like, obviously, the further you get onto one side of the spectrum, it's really obvious that it's like, hey, they have autism. As you
Yeah.
get closer to this side, it's less and less obvious.
Yeah.
Like,
True.
there's what's called masking, right? ADHD people, autism people, they do it. And a lot of the times it's not even like a conscious thing. It's just something that we do where we will mask certain things to just appear more normal, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
Like,
So you understand that that's a symptom, and then that you need to like not.
well, it's not even just like need to not, like, you could anyway, right? It's not like, it's not the end of the world, but it's just something that, like, socially we've been, like, trained, you know?
Well, that's everybody.
True.
That's just like anything in nature, or even just humans in general. We have this innate desire to be in community.
Yeah.
Right. We have that core belief or part of us that's just that instinct of we need to fit in with community. So I think that's when your brain will go, oh, okay, I know like this does not work in this social setting.
Yeah.
And I think with people who have autism, that instinct or that voice is diminished to where they don't know what's socially acceptable. That's when I think it becomes obvious.
Yeah, it's very much like a learned skill.
Interesting.
So, like,
Wow.
someone
Go into
who's...
that.
Huh?
What's the difference between a learned skill and something that's just an instinct?
Well, 90% of things are a learned skill. Maybe more. That's kind of just a number I'm throwing out.
Yeah, cite your source. Not a doctor.
Let me let me get there. Let me get there. Because a lot more things, like normal things that you wouldn't even think about, are like a learned skill. Like I said, I'm working with a toddler right now, and like you got to start from scratch. Like, I'm teaching them to eat. You know, like right now, a lot of the times they'll just like put the food in their mouth, chew it, spit it out. It's like, well, that doesn't work. We need a little more nutrition than that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a tough one, because it's like, you know, at the end of the day, I can't really force them to eat, right?
Yeah.
But it's something that needs to be worked on regardless. I totally forgot. What was the question?
What's the difference between learned skills and what are instincts? Because you talk about how much are learned skills.
There's very few things that are instinctual that, you know, you will use. Like, there's a lot of automatic functions, right? You know, blinking, breathing. All of that is instinctual stuff. Pretty much everything else can be learned. That's why, like, what I was trying to say with masking, I'm not sure if I finished the thought. People who are more impacted don't mask because they haven't learned that skill. And a lot of the times they won't pick up on social cues or the things that you do to appear more normal. And yes, everyone masks, you know, everyone has different parts of themselves that they don't show to different people. But this is more so just to appear as a neurotypical person. Not so much to just fit in a social situation, but just to appear as if you are normal. That's
So I'm curious, then, how do you go about teaching these learned behaviors?
the first step is to probe, what we call probing, to see how much knowledge they have on whatever this skill is. So let's say the skill we're working on is gross motor imitation. Again, I'm just going to keep referencing the toddler I'm working with. I have a lot of hours with them right now. Gross motor imitation. So they're imitating something I'm doing. The main one we're working on right now is clap. So I would say, do this, clap. So I say, do this, and the goal for them is to imitate that. So they will then clap, and that would be considered a correct response, right? So first we'll, probe. I'll just walk up, do that, see what he does. Nothing, right? They didn't do anything. So we're gonna start by assuming that they don't have this skill. That's not something they can do. And then we start. So there's called a hierarchy of prompting. So there's more invasive and less invasive. So like the most invasive would be me being like, okay, so do this, and then I grab their hands and make them clap, right? It's called a full physical prompt. And then the least invasive would me just saying, do this, and then they independently give the response that we're looking for, right? And there's a whole list in between. There's like a partial physical. I like grab their hands and like hold them close to each other, and then they clap. Or I gesture and I just gesture at their hands, giving them a reminder to clap, and so forth. So it's working from the most intrusive down to the least intrusive, to the point where they then build independence with that skill. And then you can use those skills to build other skills.
Oh my god.
If that makes sense. Because,
wow.
again, everything is learned. Pretty much everything, right? So
that's so
you have to teach foundations and build your way up.
Everyone is faced with a challenge, you know? Like, you're just faced with a challenge you have to get over, and it doesn't really matter comparing to other people.
Yeah, I think that's a very important thing in life, is like there is no like competition of like who went through the worst thing, right? Everyone is going through their own problems. Yeah. And no problem is worse than the other, right?
Yeah, like they're working just as hard, you know, to figure out how to put on a shirt as maybe somebody who's trying to figure out how to build a bridge, you know? It sounds like a pretty fulfilling job.
It definitely is. Like, for me, the first moment when it really hit me is like, when I first started working, one of my students, I got them to talk for the first time, and like, they're older, right?
Nice. Oh
and
my
like,
gosh.
I got them to say like yes and no to me, and like, that was like the coolest experience. I don't know if anything will ever top that. I'm not gonna lie.
Wow. Yeah, I bet.
Because like,
that's the first time they've ever.
Yeah, they've been nonverbal since. Wow. And like, I got them to like, and they frequently use it now.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It's, to me, that's just the coolest thing.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it does take very special people to do what you're doing. Because I know myself, like, I would not have the patience for it. I wouldn't have the heart for it. I wouldn't get that reward from doing it. Which I think is interesting, just how for each individual person, there's different rewards in life.
Yeah.
Right? Like, for me personally, I didn't really know, like, after going through everything with my breakup, like, I didn't really have any purpose. Like, I was like, I don't know why I'm here on this earth. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know what's the point in anything. And for me, that's when I found purpose through having a relationship with God. Like, that's what started filling me up. And, like, that's what made me want to wake up every morning and want to do these things. So for you, what's your kind of viewpoint? Like, do you believe there's a God? Like,
yeah, or do you identify with, like, atheism or
I don't
agnostic or
I don't really think about labels like that in general.
Okay.
Like it doesn't really mean anything to me, and it's not something that I really put too much thought into, right? As far as like where I stand with God, it's like I don't really have a need or a want to try and go there again, because obviously, like, me and Dylan, we grew up religious and both kind of ended up going away from it, right? And I'm not a very trusting person. I don't really do trust or faith, you know. For me, those are just, I struggle with those. I believe in action, right? For me, that's like, I have to see, like, you can talk all you want, but if you're not gonna show me results from those words, I'm not gonna believe it. And so that's why that's a thing that I'm not sure I'll ever really believe again, you know?
Oh, I'm curious though, but you talk about action, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I've heard you say, like, how much you've seen me change since becoming a Christian. Would you consider that as proof that maybe God is real and working through me personally? Because in the Bible, it does talk a lot about, like, you can judge the character of somebody based off of the fruits they produce in life, the positive or negative consequences of the choices that they make in their life, and just the results of that. And so I know you've told me before, like, wow, you really have changed a lot. Like, would you consider that maybe proof? Or do you think It's just mainly because the Bible has a lot of good morals, and it's kind of changed me in that way.
I think I would more lean towards that, because like whether or not it is God or it is these morals, you have these ideals that you are trying to stick to that are, from any standpoint, good morals, right? The Bible has a lot of really good ideas of just like be a decent person, right? You know?
Mm-hmm.
And like if that's your goal, is to be a decent person and to be good to yourself and to the people around you, and you actively work on that, that's something that you will obtain, right? I would consider myself not a nice individual, but it's something that I have actively worked on for probably, you know, more than a decade, right? To where I could say that I can be nice, but I would say by nature, I'm not a kind individual. I would say it's also a learned skill to go back to what we were talking about before.
Well, I don't think any of us are good people inherently.
Yeah.
I think we are all
biblical, actually.
born with, you know, that instinct of I'm going to do what pleases me. Right? I think as any individual, as you're going through life, like think of a toddler or anybody, toddlers just grab whatever they want, right? They just have that instinct of I want this, I'm going to grab it and take it. And as we grow up, we go, oh yeah, we can't just take whatever we want. There's boundaries, there's rules that we've learned, skills, as you say, that we go, oh, okay, to fit into society, we should follow these rules so that we can be a good on quote unquote like a good person.
Yeah.
But I think the way we are born, at least the way I believe it, we live in a world full of sin. And we have to, as Christians, deny our flesh every single day so that we can crucify ourselves, pick up our cross and follow Jesus and try and live in a good manner. But I think inherently our most basic desires are all evil, because it's how do I live my life to benefit me the most, whereas Christianity is, okay, how do I sacrifice my needs and everything I need for the betterment of, you know, my relationship with God or just helping out other people.
See, the way I think about it is like it's kind of, I don't know, very early stages of life. I wouldn't really consider, like, you're not really a person yet, right? You're still developing so much and being molded into, you know, what you will be throughout your later years. Not to say that you won't continue to change, but there's so much more change and so many more impactful things that will, it's like nature versus nurture, right? During that time.
Well, explain the difference between those two real quick.
So during those early years, you're going to be nurtured in a lot of different ways. You're going to be changed and molded by the experiences. That's a lot of what it is being a child, is you're going and you're doing all these different things. You're running, you're playing, you're exploring, you're learning about the world around you, right? And all of those things will change you into what will essentially be your nature, right? Who you are as a person, as like a baseline. And from there, again, you still can change.
Well, there's part of you that is, you know, instilled within you from birth. Like, it's in your DNA, genetically, like who you're going to be. Which is like a nature. And then, you know, like, then there's nurture where, okay, you've got all these influences in your life, and there are people teaching you what to do that you then take on as your own.
It's just like you were saying that you have all these instinctual things, right? All these survival instincts is what they realistically are, you know? You're doing what's best for you so that way you can survive.
Yeah.
Right? But I would say, at least for me, I don't really see those years as like, you know, this is a sin, you know, per se. I would just say you're still learning, and you're not really conscious of yourself, your mind, your body, and the world around you. So you don't really have a place in it yet, if that makes sense.
It made me think of like, okay, well, what happened to those people that you say they don't have a place in this world if they died?
See, that's one of the questions that I was talking about that I will not have an answer for.
Okay.
Because, like, I don't know.
That's fair.
I just simply don't have an answer. You know, maybe it's black, maybe it's reincarnation, maybe it's whatever anyone believes, right? I ain't got an answer.
Okay.
Like I said, for me, it's about proof. You know, it's like the whole argument of like religion versus science. You know, it's like science has proof.
Yeah. No,
Not to say
I
that
think-
like I know that there's like a lot of people will say, you know, I have proof because you know like God has worked through me or that, and I don't want to discredit any of that, right?
Well, I mean, that's also, you can't be one-sided with religion doesn't have any proof. Like,
well, that's what I'm saying. Is like I'm not saying that religion doesn't have proof.
okay.
I don't
Okay.
want to.
Okay.
I'm
Gotcha.
not
Okay.
not saying that. Not saying
Okay.
that. I'm just saying that in a lot of these other things, I see a lot more proof. Like to the point, what we were saying is like, what happens when you die? We don't have proof, right?
I've never
At
died.
least exactly.
Yeah. No,
I haven't died. I don't know what happens.
So hypothetically saying, if you did die and you saw like the pearly gates of heaven, but then you get like resuscitated, would you then believe it, or like for you?
I would need proof of anything essentially. But yeah, no, I would be convinced. I'd be like, oh my goodness, we got to do a 180 real quick.
Yeah. So that's kind of like your viewpoint with like any kind of religious belief.
That's kind of just my viewpoint on life.
But I mean, that's kind of, you say you need proof.
Yeah.
But have you ever thought about how much in your daily life takes faith? Even if it's not in religion itself, but it's just things that we have to take for granted.
Give me an example.
You're driving down the road, right? The only thing that separates you and a head-on collision is 2 yellow lines. So you have to, every time you get in your car, you have to say, okay, I have enough faith that, and this complete random stranger that I've never met, I know nothing about, I have to have faith that they're not drunk, under the influence, or on their phone, that we're not going to get in some head-on collision and die.
I would say I don't have faith in that. I'm going to be honest.
But you still get in your car every single day.
I got to get to work. I got bills to pay. But I do get what you're saying, right? But I wouldn't trust that they're not going to hit me. That's why you have to be actively, aware of what's happening on the road, because a lot of people are terrible drivers and shouldn't be on the road, right? And it may be that they're drunk high or on their phone, or there was a fly, whatever, It's something that you have to be aware of. And every day I do get in my car, I am taking the chance that I am going to get in a head-on collision and die, because that could happen. There is a reality where we hop in the car after this podcast and someone T-bones us, and that's it. Game over. Now, I really hope that doesn't happen. I got some stuff left I would like to do with my life. But it is a reality that could happen, and that's a risk that we take.
But that still involves faith every time you get in. Like you, with your kind of viewpoint on religion, is you say, okay, I can't say it's for certain, so I'm not going to believe it at all. Versus you in your car, there's still that chance that you could get into that head-on collision, but yet you still hop in your car every single day. You get where I'm coming from?
I get it. I'm saying that I believe that could happen. So I do have that belief, and I also have that proof. I have seen people get into car accidents, but I've also seen proof that I can make it to my destination without crashing. Right? I've seen both sides, and I know that either is a possibility, but I got to get where I got to go, because, again, I need to make money, I need to pay my bills, I'm going to go to the gym.
So I think that kind of just ties back to, like, what you said earlier with, like, you don't see the point in religion.
Yeah.
Like, where it's, like, you getting in your car, you don't have that 100% scientific proof that if you hop in your car, you're not going to get into that accident. But the desire of, okay, I gotta eat, I gotta make money, like that kind of trumps over of, okay, I have to take this leap of faith, I guess we could call it.
Sure.
To where, like, okay, I think that's just kind of like, I don't know, the input is worth the risk.
Yeah. I could see that, but again, it's just like, so they're learned reinforcers. So, reinforcers are anything that makes you likely to do a behavior again, right? So I have learned it is a secondary reinforcer. So primary reinforcers are things that you don't have to learn. They're instinctual. Food, water, sleep, you need those things, right? You didn't have to learn that you need those things. You're like, I'm hungry, food, right? Obviously, you had to learn what's like edible and stuff. But regardless, secondary reinforcers are things that you learn that can be reinforcing. Money is a learned reinforcer. For me, that is reinforcing enough to go and do that behavior again and again and again till the day I die, because, you know, at this rate, that's what I'm going to be working.
But I kind of want to go back to something else you said, just where, like, there's things you want to do in your life before you die, right? What kind of, for you, drives that? Like, where do you get that desire of, like, okay, I want these things, I'm going to do them? Is that, for you, just another, like, learned reinforcer of money is...
I mean, essentially, yeah, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't have a choice whether or not I was born, right? It's a thing that happened. I'm here on this planet, and I'm kind of just trying to make the best of it, right? As I say, you got one life, you know? Or at least from my perspective, I have one life. There is...
So you believe in one life?
We got him.
As far as I know, there is no afterlife, right? Okay. There is no reincarnation. I got one chance, right? I don't know how long that's gonna be. I could hop in the car, and that's the end, or I could live, you know, another 1,000 years. Maybe medical advancements go crazy, and we're living, you know, centuries. I don't know. You know, the future is a mystery.
I have a question. You say, like, you have a hard time trusting and the whole faith thing. And, like, as far as growing up religious, how were those things impacted by religion?
I would say it's 100% a learned thing, right? Over just experiences with other people and the way my life has gone, I've just become less and less trusting in people and the world around me, I guess.
Do you think that's been beneficial, or?
Probably not, right? You know?
Like, do you think that would that be something that you would want to try and learn how to trust again or better?
I don't know if I have an answer for that. Because, like, the reason likely that it started was it was just a mechanism to protect myself, right? I don't know exactly when it started or what caused it. You know, I don't have a lot of memory of my childhood. A lot of it kind of just got blocked out somewhere along the way. Trauma. Yeah. And so it's something that's been developed, and, you know, one of the things that I am trying is to be more open with, like, my emotions, because growing up with a lot of, like, my friend groups and stuff, I was always kind of considered, like, the mature one and, like, the one everyone came to with their problems. So, like, I kind of knew what everyone was going through, and I didn't want to share my problems because I already kind of knew the burdens that they were going through themselves, and I didn't want to put more on them. So, like, that's something that I am kind of working on more. So I guess I could say I'm kind of working on trusting people more, but that's, like, the extent of it, right?
Wow. Yeah, that's hard because, I mean, in a way you're thinking, but did you feel burdened by them
Oh,
coming
for
to
sure.
You?
Oh, for sure. Right? Because, like, you know, we're all going through our own problems, and, like, sometimes, you know, sometimes it's too much.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
Especially, like, if you have, like, multiple people coming to you and being like, yeah, this is what's going on. What do you think? Can you help me? Yada, yada. You know, like, they're asking for you to help. They're relying on you.
Yeah.
And, like, it definitely can be a burden. Like, obviously, I do want to help them, right? They're people I care about.
Yeah.
But I just would never feel comfortable then telling them what I'm going through, because I know that they're struggling with these things, and I don't want to make it harder for them.
Yeah, you don't want to burden them with what you're going through, because it's like, have you seen that diagram of, like, it's like we all got a battery on our back, and it's like by listening to people, we're like giving them like a part of the battery that we carry, right? And it's like we're on like the last 2 batteries we have, and they're like 3/4 of the way full, and they come and burden you, and then you're like taking it on. You like give them like 50% of like the little bit you have left.
They can be fully charged.
Yeah,
and
then
have you seen or read Pilgrim's Progress?
What is it?
Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. It's like a very popular book, religious book, but that's basically part of the story is he's goes through all these trials with this burden on his back, which is like just a ton of weight. And so like as he goes through life, there's different things he faces, and then like God lifts his burden off of him and takes that. He becomes lighter and lighter through until he makes it to, I think at the end he makes it to heaven. But it's similar to like your battery analogy.
So I got another question for you.
Okay.
And once again, like if you don't know how to answer, then just say
Yep,
it.
yep.
But do you think morality is universal, like the same for everybody, or is it something humans created?
I would say it's another learned skill, right? Because people have different moral compasses, and people will see things in a different light. For me, I live by a very simple rule. It's you do you, right? I am fully supporting whatever you want to do in your life, as long as it's not actively hurting or damaging someone else, right? If you want to be gay, or you want to go and travel the world, or whatever it is, if it is fulfilling to you and it's not damaging to someone else, go do that thing.
What if it's
good for you?
Damaging to them?
Now that's a solid point.
Yeah.
Now, that's fair. In those situations, I would like to be the voice of reason and be like, hey, you shouldn't do this thing. But at the end of the day, it's their life, it's their decisions. They are the ones that have to live with the outcome. I will offer them the chance, or offer them a little guidance. Whether or not they accept it, that's up to them, right? Because
that's so biblical too.
I know. I knew you were gonna say it. Like I could feel it coming. I also heard the little chuckle towards the end. I was like, "Yep, I know what he's about to say about this." I could read you like a book, bro.
Like as Christians, that's exactly like how we're supposed to live our lives. Like try and show love to one another, but then also correct them when we see them doing something unbiblical or just like not living how God would want us to live. Like as Christians, like if Reggie's going around murdering people, I'm gonna be like, hey dude, that's a big no.
Don't murder.
But it's just funny, to hear you come up with like just your kind of moral code, and just hear how much of it does align biblically. And maybe it's because we did grow up religious, or going to the private school we did, and just going to church on Sundays. But for you, like, where does that moral compass, like, we clearly, as we can say, there's obviously a gray area of, okay, what if it's hurting them? But what if to them, like, I don't want to use that term, but what if stealing for somebody, they are so twisted in their morality, like, to just even say that sentence, all of us are like, well, stealing's not good. But what if to them, saying. Stealing is good? What if their way they see the world is so warped compared to the social norm? If stealing is good to them, then who's right and who's wrong? Like for you, how do you differentiate what is good, what is good, what is evil?
I would say, again, I would base it off of my morality, right? Because whether or not I help them is my decision, right? Or I try and help them, right? So I would say, hey, you probably shouldn't be stealing, to put it down to the most basic, right? Whether or not they do, again, up to them. I can't, there's nothing I can do past that point, right? I'm not going to go and actively try and stop them from stealing.
But how, for you personally, do you come up with for your moral compass? Because, like, for me, I now have the Bible where I can say, okay, the Bible tells me I should live this way, and I'm going to try and live that way because I know this is how God asked me to live my life.
Mhm.
And I know I'll get this kind of, I don't know, I guess, reward in heaven if I live, to the letter of the law. For you, what creates that, okay, this is good, this is bad? Like, what is the backing to that it's not just like, is it, okay, if I do this, I'm going to feel good?
Pretty much, yeah. It's all experience and other people's experiences, right? That have kind of molded this idea of what I would consider right and wrong. A lot of it is like, how other people treat me. They say treat people how you want to be treated. It's pretty true because, like, if you treat someone poorly, they're going to be like, oh, I didn't like being treated like that. And it's understanding and learning things like that, throughout the time that I've been around to be like, well, these are things that I appreciate, when, someone says good morning or, whatever, something simple like that where it's like, I appreciated that. So there's a good chance that they might as well. And I try to be a good person. Like I said, it's something that I've worked on for a long time. And I really enjoy trying to make other people happy. That's something I find fulfilling.
Do you think where does that good feeling come from? Like, do you believe you have a soul, or like, where do you think, what kind of causes that good feeling, I guess, from doing quote unquote good actions?
I mean, I would say the chemicals in my brain, right? Dopamine, serotonin, all that kind of stuff. Seeing other people smile, seeing other people be happy tends to lift your mood, right? If someone's sad, you're less likely to, well, I don't know, a smile is contagious, like that kind of thought process, you know what I'm saying? And just seeing other people be happy, like I said, is fulfilling to me, if that makes sense.
What would your viewpoint of purpose be for living?
My whole thing is, when I die, if I have made a positive difference in at least one person's life, that's good enough for me. That's it.
So would you consider your goal already completed?
I don't know.
So if I was to say, like, I can tell you right now, you've made my life better.
But
so then
somewhere down the line, I also might make it worse. I don't think we can know until, our time's up. And I'll never have an answer to my question of whether or not I did. And that's okay. But because that's the goal, is I'm going to try and make the people around me better and make their lives better and make it more enjoyable. And on the same note, make mine more enjoyable.
So do you think you made it that way so you could never have an answer, so it wasn't like you'd ever have that sense of accomplishment while you're living? As kind of like a default mechanism of making sure you still have purpose throughout it all?
I don't know. I don't even know where the thought process came from. It was just... Actually, I think I do. I think I was reading a book one day, and no idea what the book was. No idea when I read it, anything about the book, but I remember something along those lines, and that just kind of stuck with me. And yeah, that's kind of just how we ended up there. I know, it's a really fragmented thought, but I don't know. Art in its many forms has always been very, very impactful to me. Whether it be music, drawing, painting, different forms of media. I think art has a way of telling, different ideas in such an eloquent way. I find it truly, beautiful,
Yeah. It's just funny. I mean, to hear, how similar my viewpoint of living is compared to yours. It's obviously with my testimony and the way I live my life now is just, for me, I take it, yeah, I want to be a good person and impact people in a positive way. But my underlying, I want to show Christ to as many people as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I do believe there is heaven, and I do believe there is hell. So my personal mission on this earth is I want to bring as many people to heaven as I can with me. To me, that's okay, well, how do I do that? I do it by living a good life. How do I live a good life? Oh, I look at the Bible, and how does God call us to live a good life? So if I can do that, and by, again, going back to the fruits of my efforts, that's how people will know I'm a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be able to look and see, okay, how does he live his life? How does he react to angry situations? Or how does he handle just different situations in life? And
was good.
that's what's been the most, I think, the biggest change that I've heard just from those around me who knew me when I was a kid, or just even just hearing you like say like, wow, you have changed a lot. And to me, like, that's one of the most rewarding things I can hear is, oh, okay, I was living in the world and now I'm trying my best to live as a good Christian and strengthen my relationship with God. And how has that changed me, and what fruits am I producing now from that?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's when people go, oh, wow, he is acting way different. Well, I wonder why. And then if they ask me, I can be like, oh, it's because I found God in my life. And so to hear you say like, yeah, I want to just try and impact at least one person in a good way. Our goals are so aligned, yet they're
Just
really
different
lens.
Different font.
For you, what builds a strong connection? Like, in any relationship in your life, how do you foster a good connection that actually means something to you?
Well, I try and build trust with them, right? I say that I'm not a trusting person, but I would like to trust people, right? And I will try and treat them, I try and treat everyone well, right? I try and be a good person, right? So I will treat them how I would want to be treated. I will be kind to them, I will try and help them if they need help. I will try and be what I would consider, a good friend, or whatever the relationship dynamic is. I will try and play that role, right? And whether or not they reciprocate that effort and energy, whether or not they're going to try and be a good friend or whatever, depends on whether or not there's a good relationship there. Because, like, if they're just not going to put any effort in, going to blow me off, yada yada, there's not going to be a strong relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a back and forth, as all things are.
So you do think trust is key, though?
Oh, for sure.
In a strong relationship.
Yeah,
connection.
I definitely do. It's something I struggle with. It takes me a while to really trust people.
For me, the way I kind of view relationships, this is just how I've kind of broken them down, is for me, it's by talking to them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Spending time with them, very similar to, like you said yourself, to figure out who it is that I'm talking to. And it's just from spending more time and talking with them that you get to understand their heart,
mm-hmm.
what actually motivates them, what actually are they looking for, like what are they trying to get out of this relationship, or just kind of like that's how I'll kind of break it down. But to me, I've also realized that's exactly the same with my relationship with God. Like, at first, I didn't really know him. I wasn't trusting of anything other than, like, my one prayer I said to him where, like, I need help. And to me, that's where I got that validation, or just like, okay, this is real. This isn't just made up. This feels real. Like, I can't deny the feelings I'm feeling when I said that prayer.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, prayer is just a way to communicate with God.
Yeah.
And so how do I get to learn more about God? Oh, I should probably try and spend time talking to him.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's also this thing called the Bible where I can learn all about him and what it is. And of course, like you, like I had to test everything. And I remember my first 2 weeks or something as a Christian, I really only prayed. I didn't really read my Bible. I didn't really do anything. I just prayed because I was like, okay, I prayed once and God absolutely answered my prayer. I was like, okay, this has to be real. But as you know, I'm going through this, I'm going to go through like the scientific method. Because like you, I was like, I have to test this out. Like, that was crazy. And I remember everything that I was going through, I would still be like praying to God, like, because I had a bunch of like really negative thoughts. And I was like, God, I'm so tired of these thoughts. Like, please take them away. And every time they'd go away immediately. That didn't mean they stay away permanently.
Yeah.
But they'd come back. And then I'd be like, okay, God, I don't want to feel this way. Like, please take away these like negative thoughts. Boom. Again, they're gone. And so like, as I'm just continuously testing it, I'm realizing, okay, this is legit. I've backed it up. I've tested it. And for you, you're like, yeah, this dude's lost it. Like, yeah, I'm speaking gibberish. But to me, I'll tell this with anybody with religion. I believe everybody has a divine appointment with God. That's how I see it. Could it be right now for you? Who knows what God has in store for you? It could be some night, years from now, that's when God like really reveals himself to you. Like they talk about, I mean, a little bit of the Apostle Paul.
Mm-hmm.
And they talk about first he was Saul, and he was killing Christians. Literally saw no point in any of religion, thought it was crazy, wanted to literally kill Christians for it. And then they talk about how when Paul found God, he was, God blinded him as he's walking. And it's like he had scales on his eyes that God had to peel away so that he could actually see that the Bible was real. And that's how I think a lot of people will live until they have that divine appointment with God. And only God knows when it is. For some people, it could be, tomorrow. It could be for them in 30 minutes from now. Like, we don't know. Like, only God ultimately knows. But for some people, it could just be the end of the end times. When God said, okay, I gave you your chance. You didn't quite see it. And then you're going, oh, shoot. Like, maybe it's real.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I think everybody has their divine appointment. And for me, like, I just want to apologize for whatever your perception of the Bible might be, or however, like, if when we were kids, how the Bible that was portrayed to us was not the real gospel. And, like, to me, that was my biggest thing of having to, we talk about learned behaviors, having to unlearn those behaviors too, the negative ones. And so for me, like, I think we weren't shown the correct gospel. I think we were shown a very jaded version of it. And so I just want to apologize to you for, like, how that was brought up to you. And, I do hope, of course, as your brother and just as a Christian, like, do I hope someday that, the scales are pulled off from your eyes and maybe you see? Yeah, of course. But all I can do is be that open conversation. I'm not going to be like, read the Bible, like, open your eyes, Like,
he's holding me down. Help!
Like, I'm not that special. Like, I'm just a person just like you. And I sat, almost literally a year ago, and I was in the exact same mind state of where, like, I was like, okay, like, as long as I live, like, a good life, I always kind of believed there was God.
Mm-hmm.
But my viewpoint was, okay, I'll live a good life. I'll live life how I want to live it. And then, when Judgment Day comes, I'll be like, give God a good old handshake and say,
I did my thing.
Yeah, I live my life my way. Like, send me to heaven or hell. Like, I'm not going to be mad because I chose to live my life my way. I was content with the consequences of the way I was living my life.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, did I realize that to me now was like, that was a really dangerous place to be. And to me, life has so much more purpose now that I have realized that there is God.
Yeah. For me, it was when my mom died. And that was when, because I was in a similar position that you're in, and my whole thing, I remember in high school, part of my worldview is, well, I don't want to care about money. I just want to, live a happy life. And so many people chase things that they think brings them happiness, and it doesn't at the end of the day. They're still terribly unhappy. So I'm like, okay, well, for a while there, I had the mindset of living a happy life. That was the goal. And I mean, granted, now I still want to be happy, but that's not the goal for me. Mm-hmm. And that changed when my mom died, and her last words were, live a good life. And that's what she said, and that's what stuck with me. And after that, it was like, it hit a button inside of me, because at first I was like, wow, that's, yeah, of course I'm going to live a good life. It's easy to think on the surface level of what that means. But if you try to digest that, you try to really think about that. I mean, the greatest philosophers and thinkers of all time have spent their lives trying to figure out, what does a good life look like? And so after trying to rack my brain around it for a long time, there's no way of, like you said, I've never died, but I've lost a lot of people in my life who have, and I know what true conviction looks like and true love looks like, and that's something that is hard to explain, and there's a lot of things that I'm not very good at explaining, but I think it's important at least to reflect and look at the things that you value and what really does bring meaning to your life. And to me, only a true fulfilled life can be found with God in it. And because I know what it's like in a way to not have him close in your life, to be far away. And he never moves, but it's us that move away from him. And I felt that distance, and then as I searched for purpose and meaning, he showed himself and revealed himself to me in a way that was my divine appointment, you know? And so I don't think there should be any pressure for you. Like, I don't want you to sit here and be like, oh my goodness, where's my divine appointment, you know?
I missed it 30 minutes ago.
Yeah, or why hasn't God
Wait, my watch
spoken to me?
broke.
Yeah, no, that's not it. But I do think it's important to, you know, be aware of it and not just try to be ignorant of it, you know? Because that can be dangerous.
Do you think that there exists a truth that is undefiably right?
No, I would say no, because for me it's subjective. For me it's what I think. For you it's what you think. For him it's what he thinks. I don't think that there is generally one right answer, because it's something that I have, right? For me it's a learned experience. For everyone it's a learned experience. It's a question for you guys, whether it be your personal opinion or what the Bible has to say about it. Is there any necessary evils? For example, like war. A lot of people would consider war a necessary evil, where we have to go fight and kill all these people in order to preserve a greater peace, or to preserve peace for us. Maybe not even a peace for them. They may end up on the short end of the stick. So the question is would you consider that something that's necessary?
I don't think evil is necessary.
Okay.
No.
So there's a phrase that I like a lot. It says, it's hard to win an argument with a smart person, but it's impossible to win an argument with a stupid person. Right?
Yeah.
Because, like, if you're arguing with...
Somebody pull up Proverbs, please.
If you're arguing with a smart person, they're going to have a lot of knowledge and a lot of facts to back up what they're saying, It can be
Totally.
It can be hard to win that argument. Whereas if you're arguing with someone who's not that smart, they just may be like, this is what I believe.
Yeah.
I don't care what you have to say. Or they may start with personal attacks, you're stupid, you're ugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like,
yeah.
In a situation where you would say that, war is not, something that should never happen, how, like, if talking it out, what we would hope would happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we could just see eye to eye and be like, hey, we shouldn't do this, right? But that's not an answer.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I just believe that, like, we weren't created to be evil,
Mm-hmm.
Like, evil wasn't. I have a
was
biblical,
introduced.
Perspective of it. So, like,
familiar
we are
with the story.
Yeah,
I get what you're putting down.
Yeah, exactly. Creationist. So to me, it's like evil is like our fallen selves. It's what we have to try and conquer now, and inside of us, the sinful desire.
And this is just kind of playing devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
I could be totally wrong on all this. But the way I just like to think about it was, I think there had to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
For, at least in the sense of Christianity, there was the world without sin first. Sin wasn't a part of it. And in that point, I don't think there was no need for a necessary evil, because there was no evil yet. At least in the creation story, there's creation and then there's the fall. That's the introduction of sin into the world. Then I think that's when evil became necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could even go back to just when God and all of his angels were first in heaven. And then there was Lucifer. That could have been like the first fall.
But, I mean, but it's not. It wasn't necessary.
No,
Well,
I don't think it was
like,
necessary, but
yeah.
now, okay, look at it, Lenny.
Okay, yeah, go.
That's just the setup, right? We'll just scratch everything in the beginning. All right, there's God, all of his angels, then there's Lucifer. Okay, God created Lucifer. He created everything. Long story short, Lucifer falls, takes some of the angels, he's cast down to heaven, or to earth. Then convinces Eve to take a bite out of that apple. That's an evil action, right? Now for us as humans, when Eve took a bite of that apple, now there's sin all the way throughout the world. Which I think is funny to look back and see, like, okay, Lucifer wasn't sin until Eve took the bite of the apple, right? That's when sin was entered to the world for all of us. Yet the devil was still living in the earth. So going back to that, if Eve never took a bite of the apple, there would have never been any sin in the world. But then again, there would have never been any free will, I guess. Or I guess there was always free will, but we just never made that wrong decision yet.
Yeah.
So I think now, in the world we're living in, before anything ever went wrong, I think now there's absolutely a necessary evil, which is the fight of good and bad. That's why we are sinners. That's why God had to send down his son, Jesus, to conquer death and sin, so that there was an actual way out of winning this war against good and evil. Otherwise, yeah, there's always going to be the light and the shadow. Well, when does the resolution come? Well, for us as Christians, we believe that when God comes again and takes us back up to heaven, that's getting rid of that necessary evil. So then I guess inherently, no, there is no such thing as a necessary evil. There's just evil, because we can get rid of it. But I think while we're living in this testing ground period, then yeah, it's an evil that we have to conquer. It gives us the free will to live any way we want. God's biggest action of love was sending down Jesus for us, but also giving us free will to live any way we see fit. He didn't force us to live life some correct way, even though we have the Bible and he says, hey, you should live life this way. He doesn't force us to go, hey, you have to live this way. Like you, even though we're brothers, we still love one another, and you live your life and your moral compass is completely different than mine.
Sure about that?
Not entirely. I mean, there's similarities, but the end goal is still the same. So the fact that we have free will, if we didn't have that necessary evil of if we do something wrong, there will be negative outcomes, then we'd basically just kind of be programmed robots. There would be no free will if there was no wrong choice to make. So that's where I think there has to be that necessary evil, that necessary bad outcome. Otherwise, it's all reward and no risk. There's no actual love to be held there. There's nothing there. It's just, you can live life this way. There's no wrong choice to make. There's no skin in the game. There's no that gets rid of free will.
Honestly, sometimes I wish I didn't have free will. I'm like, shoot.
I'm going to go do this thing.
Yeah. And I mean, I could be totally wrong. Like, this is probably a little bit out of my scope, but I'm still learning, and that's just kind of how I've broken it down when you ask that question, do you think there's a necessary evil?
Because, the follow-up question for that is just, well, if there's no evil that is necessary, what if you're faced in a situation with two evils? You know, they often say pick the lesser of the two evils, right? But, like, let's say, for example, the age-old trolley question. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
The trolley?
Yes. So
is it like to save these people, you have to kill all these people?
Yeah.
Correct. It's like one side is like three random people, one person is a person you care about. Like in that situation, there is no situation where you're not, like, even if you do nothing, someone still dies.
Yeah. It's like Spider-Man 1, you know, where the Green Goblin.
It's been so long since I watched that movie, man. Oh, I'm sorry. It ain't coming to me.
It's like the Green Goblin has Mary Jane, or he has like the people on the literally a trolley. Like,
the train. Yeah.
Train. So he has to pick who does he save, you know? And yeah, in that scenario, I mean, gosh.
Because at that point, there has to be a necessary evil, right?
Yeah, it's just a tragedy. The whole thing.
Yeah,
is a
yeah.
you know?
Regardless,
Yeah.
it's a terrible situation to be in.
Like, I can think of
Other
if I
people
were...
in the train?
Yeah, I know. I mean, if I was the only one, and somebody was choosing between saving me or like 5 people, I'd be like, yeah, no,
Why
You gotta
five? Was
save the five.
three not good enough?
Okay, 3 people. No, 3.
What if it's 2?
But
2.
like,
Yeah,
let's.
even 2.
But the thing is like, what if it's your dad? You know, it's your dad or like 2 people. You know, like, doesn't that make that?
And I'm supposed to save.
You have the choice, because then that decision is so much harder.
Yeah, that is.
Me and my
Yeah.
buddy, we had a really long conversation
Yeah.
about this. Like,
Oh my
this was
God.
when I was back working at Chipotle. My buddy Marcus, me and him legitimately went on like a 4-hour conversation about this dilemma. It was insane. Just going back and forth, just like tweaking the numbers and just like trying to find like, what is that tipping point? You know, of like, when are you making what decision?
Wow.
It's because it's a really tough question.
Yeah.
It
That
really
is a tough question.
Well, it's trying to add value to a human life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you can just look at it objectively numbers-wise, but then there's emotions the emotional value that changes the intrinsic value.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I need my glasses. That's probably like the smartest thing I've ever said on this podcast.
I'm taking partial credit.
Yeah. That's tough. For me, though, like, that's also another aspect of Christianity is there is no greater love than laying down one's life for your friends. And that's knowing that as a brothers in Christ, a family of believers, we share that belief. I would know that ultimately, but I guess I wouldn't know if they were. I know like my dad is, so like in that case, I know he would probably want me to save the other people instead of him. You know, there's like a sacrificial love that,
And I think that's really tough, because
So-
like, while in theory, right?
Yeah.
You know, everyone,
Yeah.
the Bible says that this is something that you should do, but in that moment,
oh
you know,
yeah, well that's the
that's-
whole tear between
yeah, it's
my
so much more
selfishness
tough.
and like
When the train's actually coming down, it's like, the question is, are you really gonna have that whole thought process?
Yeah.
It's
I
real.
hope-
That's a terrible
first
situation.
Of all, let's back it up. Yeah, definitely. That's an interesting question. Yeah, do you believe in a necessary evil?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, my go-to is, when we were younger, he was a lot bigger and stronger than me, and
I still am, actually.
there, all right. But like, we were siblings. We
Yeah.
fought a lot. That's
Totally.
that's just how that goes. You
Yeah.
know, more often than
Brothers
not.
too,
Yeah. And there's a lot of situations where I would do dirty things that I would say, you know, that's kind of an evil, you know, fighting dirty. But like, for me, that was just something that I had to do in order to keep myself from getting more hurt.
Okay.
I'd say it's a very basic like scenario, but like, I feel like it gets the point, you know what I'm saying?
Gotcha. I think so. Yeah,
Like, I could start fake
To-
crying
yeah.
if I, like, I would do that all the time.
you're,
Like, if
you're
I see
breaking
him,
the rules to try and save yourself.
yeah,
from
like if I
more
see him like
torture.
running at me, like upset, I could just start fake crying, so that way they would come and step in, so I don't get absolutely beat. And it works. It works.
Yeah, no, that's understandable. I could see that. Yeah. I mean, that's on a small scale.
Yeah, but that was the idea, is just to boil it down to the most simple, understandable thing,
Okay.
right?
But that's like,
On a larger scale, I would go back to what we were talking about, war originally. That was my original concept. And the idea of you
but
can't...
as far as like, in general, is evil necessary?
I would like to say no, right?
Okay.
But I have to say yes. Because I like I was saying is I can't win an argument with an idiot if they aren't willing to like try and see eye to eye and they're like, we're gonna fight about this. What can I do about that? I don't have control over their actions. And if they're going to do something that harms me or the people I care about, I'm not going to be nice about it, right? So in that situation, again, there's a necessary evil. I have to do something that I don't want to do, that isn't a nice thing to do, but I'm going to do it.
I see what you're saying there. And I think that is a byproduct of evil in the world now. You know, like you kind of have to.
But that's
yourself.
like the whole
you
thing.
Have to protect yourself against that. Yeah.
That's like the whole point. Is the reason that there's necessary evil is because there already is evil. That's why there's a lesser of the two evils. I would say in that situation, I am taking the lesser of the two evils. They are the one choosing to press, to be aggressive, to whatever. I am choosing the lesser of two evils. I'm still doing something that I would consider evil, but I would consider it less evil.
Okay. I mean, obviously, if you're forced into a situation, I don't know, you could talk about hypotheticals a lot, but I think that then comes to, you know, another sense of your moral guide, right or wrong.
Yeah.
You know, based on my personal, you know, convictions, based on my biblical viewpoints and beliefs. So,
yeah,
that's how I discern good from evil, you know.
So I got this story. That's why I've been silent. I was looking for this story, but I'm just going to read it real quick. It shouldn't be that long. It kind of challenges everything we've actually been saying.
Okay.
Looking at it from the complete opposite side. But it starts out with, a young man once went to a wise elder with a heavy heart. Teacher, he asked, is there such thing as a necessary evil? Sometimes it seems that doing wrong is the only way to bring about good. The elder smiled and pointed to 2 candles burning on the table. One candle flickered low, its flame weak and unsteady. The other burned tall and bright, lighting the whole room. Which candle needs the darkness more? The elder asked. The young man thought for a moment. Neither. Both shine the same, whether it is night or day. The elder nodded. Exactly. Good does not need evil to exist. It is good by its own nature. But in the presence of evil, its light becomes more visible. Evil is never necessary, but God can use the shadows to show us how bright his light truly is. The young man frowned. Then what of times when we must choose between 2 evils? Is that not a necessary evil? The elder leaned closer. Often what men call necessary evil is simply the limit of their vision. We cannot always see the path where pure good lies, but God sees it. And when we trust him, even our mistakes can be turned into instruments of his good purpose. Evil never becomes necessary, it only becomes an opportunity for redemption. The young man looked again at the candles. He saw that even the weak flame, though small, was still light, and he realized better to choose the smallest good than to carry any evil necessary.
Yeah, I don't really know where to go from there because, like, I feel like my point still stands. You know?
That
Even
there is a necessary evil?
Yes. Because we're saying, yeah, if you have to pick between 2 evils, it's that there is some other path. But
well, let me put it this way.
Go ahead.
I think the point of the story is we as humans categorize good and evil as evil is bad, good is good, right? This story is saying they aren't good or bad. That's just their nature. They're just doing exactly what they are created. That's the limit we've put on it. Just like your version of right and wrong is different than mine. But that's just your nature of right versus wrong versus my nature of right or wrong. It's not necessarily one is wrong and one is right. They are just attributed to the value of what we've put on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just like your nature as a human being is different than my nature. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's more so we're villainizing bad intentions, right? We're saying that's bad, don't do it. But it's not necessarily bad because it's just its nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that kind of goes back to like what we were talking about, universal truths, right?
I don't know if I'm tracking with that.
So look at sin.
Yeah.
Sin is sin by its nature.
Yeah, it's wrong.
To us, yes, but not to Nick.
Mm.
Sin is just sin in its nature. Sin is just a part of its
Okay, well,
characteristics. Sin is just what it is. It's the object.
I'm not even saying to us, I'm saying to everyone.
Through our lens of looking through the world.
Yeah, from what? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Me by nature is me. It's not right or wrong. I'm just me by its nature. That's what this is saying. Bad is just bad by its nature. It gets rid of the idea of a necessary evil. Just like Reggie, you are Reggie by your nature. You're the characteristics of what make you up. You're just the individualistic parts, like your legs, your arms, your head, your brain. That's what makes you you. Mm-hmm. It's not good or bad. As soon as humans, we like to give it a value of good or bad. Mm. So evil in itself is just evil. It's the characteristics that make it. Okay. We as humans put a value of, is this good or bad? Sin for you and me. Good and bad. Bad. For Nick, sin, it's completely different.
That's what I was saying. It's going back to like a universal truth. Because you guys have the Bible and you have these ideas that are considered like your universal truth, I could see that perspective. But for me, because I don't believe in some universal truth, I have to take the other stance. Because that aligns more with my thoughts and my morals and my ideals.
Mm-hmm. This was a fun rabbit hole.
I have a hard time with that. Because, like...
It agrees with your viewpoint, though, of evil not being necessary. Yeah. God is able to take the evil that's in this world and redeem it.
Totally. And I totally agree with that. You know, what we see as evil in our... through our lens might eventually turn out to be some good, you know, like better than whatever else could have happened. And I've said this before, like in my testimony, not that I like wish my mom had died. No, I'm like, it's hard and it's really sad, but I wouldn't be as good of a person. I don't believe I would be as good of a person now if she hadn't, if she were still alive.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't say that her death was good, you know, but there is good that has come from her death.
Well, and I think that kind of goes to like, why does God allow bad things to happen?
Yeah, totally.
And I think when we're going through those tough times, it's like, yeah, these are horrible things happening. Mm-hmm. God, why is it happening to me? But like you, like if I never went through the worst time of my life, I was literally just talking to somebody about this last night. If I never went through those hard things that I went through, I never would have turned into the person I am today. I still would have been completely lost, not knowing who I was. And like, yeah, if I was to have the option of not going through those tough times, and losing the person I am today, and possibly being that same person, that stagnant person back than I was then, I would absolutely, without a doubt in my mind, go through all those difficult things again to be who I am now, versus never going through any difficult situations. And I think that's sometimes, if we want to go back to a necessary evil, sometimes bad things have to happen to force us to grow.
Yeah.
And the way that Reggie and I can look at it is, okay, God loves us too much to allow only good things to happen to us, because otherwise we're not growing, or our faith isn't growing. Granted, yeah, if our faith is never tested,
well, it's
then
not
how
real
are we gonna...
love, you know, like love without free will is just control, you know. So it's like, and then it's not really love. So yeah, it's something that we have to take the good with the bad, and how we are able to, you know, overcome those things is what shapes us into ourselves and how we grow.
Yeah. But I think we'll just ask you one more question, and then I want to redo the intro. now that I know what we're talking about. But so something we've been doing is we've been asking our previous guest to leave a final question for our next guest. So we're going to ask you that question, and then you're going to be creating a question for our next guest. Just don't have it be the one of the necessary evil, because otherwise we'll never...
Yeah, you'll be stuck on the same topic for eternity.
We kind of touched on this a little bit. So the question is when you're the person sitting in the wheelchair when you're old and wrinkly, who do you want to be, and what does your life look like now to become that person? What do you have to do to be that person?
I would hope that if I am old and wrinkly, and unfortunately in a wheelchair, because that would drive me insane, not gonna lie, I would hope that I'd be surrounded by, people that I care about, right? And